It takes 1 year to permanently lose 25 pounds. I'm going to walk you through the math of this fat loss puzzle using one of the most basic weight loss approaches, intentional calorie restriction. I'm not a fan of this approach because I personally hate tracking my food. Losing weight via intentional calorie restriction requires you to know how much you're eating at all times. And since we've all had calorie counting drilled into our skulls for our whole lives, it is, after all, the most obtuse, mundane, and simplistic way to view the elegant human metabolism. Oops, did I say that out loud? But let's go ahead with it because it's familiar and we all get it. As a bonus, this will make the calorie deficit bros and their followers happy, which is good because the last thing I need is more hangry people in my comments calling me names. But you know the calorie bros. Those young male personal trainers who have never been overweight or insulin resistant and who glibly tell you that all you need is a calorie deficit to lose fat. Yeah, those guys. The same guys who will show you exactly how they lose fat via calorie deficit in a clickbaity social media experiment. They'll lose 20 pounds in 30 days and say, see, calories. But what they've shown you is something that they call a mini cut. This is another way of saying temporary weight loss. You might do a mini cut before a vacation or a photo shoot. The weight comes right back on as soon as you start eating your normal amount of food again. We already know all about temporary fat loss. We know it all too well. So today's anecdote is about permanent fat loss via intentional calorie restriction because it is actually possible to lose weight and keep it off. Let's say you start your diet at 2,000 calories per day. Side note, none of the women I work with would be caught dead admitting to eating 2,000 calories a day. I can't tell you how many women I've met lately who had their basal metabolic rate tested at the gym. This is basically your calories required to operate your body at rest, or the energy needed to keep the lights on. And they were given some official sounding number like 1,452.8 calories per day or something. Girl math is hearing that number and deciding that it's your break-even number. As long as I'm in the ballpark of that number on even my worst day, I won't gain weight. Anyway, for the sake of this experiment, let's suspend our beliefs about women's generationally dysmorphic relationship with food, calories, and body. You're starting at 2,000 calories of food per day, a comfortable amount of food that feels normal and nourishing. You do want to see progress quickly, but you're also trying to be realistic about how much deprivation you can handle. So you decide to drop calories at 200 calorie increments. So to kick things off, you nudge your calories down to 1,800 per day. You hang there for 3 weeks and lose 2 pounds per week until it stalls out in week 4. These weight loss stalls are what happens when your metabolism downregulates to your new lower calorie intake. It is a normal part of calorie restriction that needs to be factored in here. You've lost 6 pounds, and now you need to gently nudge your calories a bit lower to get things moving again. So for the next 3 weeks, you go down to 1,600 calories per day. You lose 6 pounds, and then the weight loss stalls again due to metabolic downregulation in week 4. You drop to 1,400 calories for the next 3 weeks. You lose another 6 pounds and stall out in the 4th week. You go down to 1,200 calories for the next 3 weeks. You lose 7 pounds and then stop. At this point, you've lost 25 pounds in the span of 16 weeks. You did it following a gentle caloric deficit, tracking and measuring your food every day so you could be certain to hit and not exceed the caloric targets. You're not done though. Oh, you're not even halfway done. Now comes the hard part, maintenance. You now have 2 choices to maintain this fat loss. Number 1, keep living at 1,200 calories per day. This is where most dieters fail because 1,200 calories per day is miserably low. You get hungry. Your willpower vanishes. You start snacking, nibbling, and treating yourself, and you let up on the calorie counting because honestly, it's the worst. You gain the weight back, just like our calorie bros do after their mini cut. But that's not the worst part, though. The worst part is the names you start calling yourself. Weak, failure, shameful, disappointment. I always give up. I always self-sabotage. I can't trust myself. You don't need any more of that language in your head or heart. So your other, better option to keep that 25 pounds off of you forever is to slowly ratchet your calories back up to where you started, back up to 2,000 calories per day. This is called reverse dieting, and it is its own whole niche section of the dieting world. There are coaches out there that specialize in it. And my advice to you, if you choose to lose weight via intentional calorie restriction, is to find a coach who will teach you how to reverse diet out of it. And by the way, that ain't me. As for you, well, it takes a very special kind of person with a very special kind of discipline and patience to agree to the minutiae required to effectively reverse diet. Is that you? Reverse dieting helps you to bring your daily caloric intake back up incredibly gradually to a livable level without surprising your metabolism and gaining all the weight back. And you have to do this at very small, very slow increments so as to reorient your metabolic rate. So here we go. Your plan of attack is to increase your calories by 200 per week and give your body 2 weeks at each new calorie level to normalize your metabolic rate. 200 calories per week works out to about 30 calories per day. So for 2 weeks, you go from 1,200 calories to 1,230 per day. The next 2 weeks, 1,260 calories per day. The next 2 weeks, 1,290. 2 weeks at 1,320. 2 weeks at 1,350. 2 weeks at 1,380. 1,410. 1,440. 1,470. 1,500. 1,530. 1,560. 1,590, 1,620, 1,650, 1,680, 1,710, 1,740, 1,770, 1,800, 1,830, 1,860, 1,890, 1,920, 1,950, 1,970. 52 weeks later, you're back up to 2,000 calories per day. You can eat food again like a normal non-dieting person and ostensibly stop tracking. This is assuming the type and timing of your food doesn't cause the weight to creep back up again, because surprise, calories are actually not the only contributor to weight gain and loss. But when we add the 52-week reverse diet to the original 16 weeks it took to lose the 25 pounds in the first place, this puts your 25-pound weight loss via deliberate calorie restriction at a 68-week effort, 1.25 years. Let's round down to 1 year, though, just to make this seem more hopeful and fun. 1 year to lose 25 pounds forever. And this assumes that you were perfect. A perfect dieter on the way down with no slip-ups. A perfect reverse dieter on the way up with no slip-ups. 25 pounds of permanent fat loss in 1 year of constant calorie tracking. Sounds like absolute hell to me. But would you do it? To be honest, just about any weight loss program would work if you gave it a solid year of consistent effort and practice. The problem is, nobody wants to wait a whole year to permanently lose 25 pounds. It's not fast enough. Well, there is no faster way. Fast equals temporary. You could have stopped dieting at the 16-week mark when you hit your 25-pound goal, but then you just gain it all back in a month or so. What good is fast fat loss if it's not even real? The only hack for permanent real fat loss, no matter how you do it, is patience.